So what's your podcast about?
Okay, this is making me feel really uncomfortable. Not like it.
It's like amplified
Is my mic
drama.
Okay. Well then, let's go.
All right. Mic check. Oh, it's so good to be back right here with you guys. Hey, how you guys doing? My name is John Jeremy, and this is the Quiet Coyote Podcast. Ow! All right, that little coyote came to join us. And with me, as always, you see over here at the end of the other side, we got Angel.
What up?
Yo, Angel, sounding crispy and clean on the microphone.
Oh, thank
You're
you.
sounding good over there. And also, we have someone else here right in between that you've never seen here before. We got my buddy Keith.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey, what's going on, Keith? How you feeling today?
I'm feeling pretty good. This is it. You know, I feel like I've made it. This is lights, camera, action.
You are at the pin.
This is the pinnacle.
You have arrived?
Yeah. This is the pinnacle. This is the height of my recovery right here.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
That's it. If we could do anything, then just be the zenith, the top of the mountain that people can get to, then that's awesome. I've had a lot of people come up to me lately. You are coming on a great time because you also were like catching up on some of the recent stuff we were doing. You were telling me before, but I went out yesterday, Angel. I went to a group anniversary. And I had people coming up to me, and it was like embarrassing almost because people were like, "Yeah, I caught the episodes," and other people were like bigging me up. And then today I had went to church, and then a woman from that used to come here, lives in Maryland, was visiting, and she was telling me she was catching all the episodes, and she was saying like how funny we are, and then she was telling me about her son who liked the song, one of my songs that was part of the podcast. Anyway, long story short is that like I feel like people are now like really watching. So they're watching you, Keith.
They're watching me?
They're watching you.
Yeah.
They can. We just put it out there, but
I hope
think-
you got my good side.
oh my goodness, every side is a good side with Keith. Look at this. Hey, look at this face.
Yeah.
Look at this face. Come on. What else can you say, Keith? Thanks for coming on the show, and
Thanks for having me, man. This is great.
you look so happy. I'm happy that we can make you happy.
I remember the first time I met you, man. And
Yeah?
you know, the beats and
Oh yeah.
I was hosting that show at that community center that long ago. I was hosting it the first time I saw you come and perform, and you came in. I'm like, who's this guy? Like walking up to the audio equipment that I was just barely learning how to use and stuff like that. And you like blew the roof off that place, and you blew me away too, man. It was a very inspirational moment for me because you know, like this whole thing, you know, my whole life has just been nothing but antisocial, fear, judgment, anger, all that, and you know, the last place I ever imagined myself being was hosting an open mic night. And when you came in and I saw what you did and you were putting words to music, and I said, I gotta do that. I gotta try that. And I don't, you know, I've done it, so it's cool. I don't know if it was very good or it definitely wasn't as good as yours, but you know, I had, you know, when I saw you do it, you know, I had felt like beforehand, like, oh man, wouldn't it be so cool if I could put some of my words to like music and maybe try like rapping a little or something. And, but I was just so scared. I was just so like, the disease was just like, there's no way you're pulling that off. There's no way. And once I saw you doing it, I was like,
You're like
too bad. You got to try. You have to try. So,
You're like, if this guy can do it,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it. I'm glad that we can inspire each other. I know my little brother, he does music and he tours with his music and he pays his bills with his music, and like whenever he would do something or a song, it inspired me, and I was like, wow. And then I just never, I mean, personally, I just never thought like I would be that for anybody else, but I'm sure like we just feed off of each other.
Yeah.
Like you went up there and you were doing some really crazy poetry, and I was just like, wow, this is like amazing, you know, and you really took to it and you grew from that, and you also were able to have a platform for others, which is amazing to be. This is what it is. This is my open mic. You know what I mean? Like I thought I'm like, oh, I just want to get on. I asked Angel. I said, Angel, do you want to? I want to do a podcast. Do you want to like come on and help me? And Angel's like, Angel's easy. This is Angel in a nutshell. Angel's like, it.
Literally.
Yeah. So Angel just says that's when Angel says that. Angel doesn't care. Angel's down to clown. So Angel, went on and that first episode. And then we're like, wow, that was so cool and easy. Let's do it again. And then we did it again and got another person to come in, and we started getting another person every week. And then all of a sudden, that's what it was. It became a platform.
Yeah.
So like now this platform, just like you welcomed me in your platform, now I feel like really nice that I can welcome you on my platform, and be able to. Now it's like the open mics means open, means I can open this community. I could give something to the community.
Yeah.
And this is like our opportunity now for you to come up here and talk about whatever we talk about.
Yeah.
You know?
Who knows?
Who knows?
What's gonna
Maybe.
come out? But I like what you say about the platform, because that's what that whole show was about. It was an alternative pathway to recovery, and I don't know how I ended up there, and it was just once it hit me, like I am a part of an alternative pathway to recovery, and like doing a unique thing that you won't be able to find for miles around, like an open mic night for recovery, and so consistently and stuff. It was just, it's like when you step outside the box and you can see what you're doing. Like I'm supposed to be like some sort of tough guy and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But I can't tell you how many times I had to like kind of like look away or put my head down because I was tearing up during the show, during somebody's performance or something like that.
Right.
And like it hits you. It's like, I can't believe I get to be part of this thing, like I gotta worry, I gotta be careful. I can't be like, I can't believe that I'm producing this thing.
Yeah.
No. I can't believe that I got the honor and privilege to be a part of this thing.
Just to like watch it, just to like witness it.
Yeah.
I bet like that's how that felt watching some of these performances. Did you have one performance that blew you away, that was like something that maybe was really intimate, something that came out, or something that was so wild that you could never erase it from your mind? Like, I know I used to host an open mic, so I'll let you think for a minute. But
yours, I mean, that the 12-step song, that How Many Steps? Was it? Yeah, How Many Steps? That song was I played that. I have it on my OneDrive, and as a counselor now, I bust my phone out a lot for props and to preach alternative pathways to recovery and stuff. And that's one of the I can't tell you how many times I've shown people that, and they're like, "That's you," and I'm like, "No, it's not me, it's somebody else." But it's the show I got to promote and host, and this is I always say it like this: you got all these different pathways to recovery, but getting on stage and being part of a show like this and finding recovery through artistic expression is like unique. It's unique.
that is unique. And I think that in my experience, when I was in a rehab, like I was in a rehab with so many artists, like music artists, a lot of music artists. I feel like a lot of us have a lot of mental issues that we deal with, and a lot of those mental issues come out in addiction.
Yeah.
And I've personally sat with so many artists of actually, I didn't know any artist that was any person in a rehab that I was in that wasn't creative, that wasn't creating something. Like, first of all, we have so much time in a rehab. When you're walking around, you see people writing. You see people writing
Yep.
like poetry. You see people drawing. You see people like they were creating. Even besides playing cards or like trying to kill time. Right? There's only so many classes or whatever that we were able to do. Like something that was like that.
Hundreds
Right.
of poems I wrote in jail and in rehab.
Wow. Did you say any of those at the open mic, or did you consolidate any of them, or they were just
No,
Just you-
no.
you
Well,
creating.
a couple of the ones I wrote when I was in my last rehab are still in my poetry binder that were like my bread and butter ones that I still perform on stage. But hundreds of poems, because like when I was in rehab in jail, like there was nobody that was giving me any commissary or sending me cigarettes or sending me a sweatshirt or anything like that. So that was my hustle in jail. And, I would meet with you for 15 minutes. I would ask you some questions, and then I would write a custom love poem to your girl in your
Wow.
name, and I'd make it even sound like you wrote it, like in your kind of style of speaking, and you can rewrite it in your handwriting, and there's plausible deniability. You know, otherwise you got to go up to the other guy in jail who's drawing Mickey Mouses and shit like that, stuff like that. And you know, she knows you didn't draw that, but she might think that you wrote this love poem. You know,
you had an artistic hustle. You know,
yeah.
we all have our new hustles
and,
coming
and
in.
like
and
you
out.
said, it made the time pass. But you know, another thing you said was like, or artistic people. You know, people in recovery.
Mm-hmm. I believe that.
Addicts and alcoholics.
I believe that.
You know, one of the ways I describe it, you know, to people that ask, especially, you know, my clients, is they're like, what do you think this is all about? And I said, like, you ever see Superman, the one of the newer ones, where he's got to hide in the closet at school as a kid?
Oh yeah, that's
because-
Henry Cavill. That was the Man of Steel.
Well, the Man of Steel, and he's got to hide in the closet as a kid in the janitor's closet because he hears everything.
the
He can
noise
hear
has started
everybody
to-
on the whole planet,
Yeah.
and he hears and he's seeing people's skeletons. So he's hearing too much. He's seeing too much, and that's what I equate one of the characteristics of addiction. You know, we see too much. We feel too much. We love too much. We hate too much. We worry too much, and
That's a great way to
we
look.
care. We care too much, you know, and we hurt too much, and we can't handle it, and we have to quiet. And it's like what I explain to people. It's like it's not a curse. It's a superpower, you know, because you go through life and you see like there's other people out there that don't seem to care too much about what's going on around them, and you're like, oh, like ignorance is bliss. I wish I could be more like that person, you know. But no, if you learn how to manage it, you know, and you probably need, you know, to learn how to manage it from an outside source. I never recommend like you training yourself how to manage it because it probably won't work out so good for you. But there's outside, you know, sources and recovery can teach you how to channel it and how to turn the fact that you see more than most people, you hear more than most people, you feel more than most people, you know, into a superpower.
Yeah, like art.
Art,
Right?
There
Like,
you go.
so-
That's why, you
Yeah,
said,
yeah.
so many people were artists in the rehabs.
Yeah, because when you said all that, I was like, that sounds like an artist. An artist sees too much, feels too much, and unless if they didn't have the expressions, like if they didn't have art to express it with, then they'd probably just implode or explode, whatever you want to call it. Because I think that's why I did a lot of drinking and drugging to numb. I need the voices to lower. I need to like not see as much. I need everything to be less bright, so let me just drink and like numb a lot. I need to get numbed because I'm too sensitive, and I need to numb why I'm just feeling so irritated and bothered. And Angel is creative with the clothing. Angel will paint and sew and like create a whole thing with clothes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just my like. I don't know. I love doing it and stuff because like I don't like boring stuff. Like whenever I get like a new like thing, like whenever I search something or like buy like something new, like I'm like, oh, I can definitely like make it look a lot better. So usually I just either paint something, sew something on, or just do something unique. So
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you got to have these outlets because, you know, the world is going crazy.
Yeah.
Going crazy out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to be able to, and also, you know, our art can help in with the world as it is. I think like that's why I like certain art because it depicts the time. Like
Yeah.
it's a time capsule. Like with during things during certain times, like World War II. You know, the comics. They were like, you know, these comics that we have here. These are all the first. These are all the first. First,
Yeah.
First Superman.
noticed that.
First time he's punching Hitler. So like that's the first Captain America. So these are all firsts, and like these actually these are all like time capsules. They all depict the time when they were coming out. So it's really interesting actually. This got cut off. This was the first X-Men over here, and I know that Stan Lee was saying that like all the X-Men was inspired by the civil rights movement. Because that, you know, the X-Men coming out themselves and people not liking or like, you know, trying to they just were afraid of the mutants that were coming out. So no, art, like that's art. It all comes out through those ways, and that's really awesome that you were able to have that platform. I remember that. That was really cool. I'm I haven't been back yet to the open mics now over there, the recovery open mics. But so besides me, you don't really remember anybody else that did anything wild or crazy on the mic or when?
Oh no, man! I remember there was just so many of them.
Yeah, nothing that stuck out. You were like, this guy went up.
But
there.
the director over there, she was the director at the time.
Yeah.
She did. Oh God, I forget the name of the song.
All right.
But
She sang it.
Yeah, she sang it. She played piano, and I was like, I'm home. I'm home.
Aw.
I teared up for that one too.
I think I know her. Yeah, I think I know who you're talking about. I think she still does. I think she's in a band, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, we were talking about the recovery stuff before we started opening up the podcast, and I thought it was really cool. You're a counselor. You have the you were doing the artistic open mic. So you were doing the recovery open mic. So you have many different ways of. You are in recovery. Right?
Yeah. Well, it's I'm a professional. I'm a counselor. I'm on the Suffolk County Mobile Crisis Team. And the views and opinions that may come out of my mouth are not necessarily the views and opinions of the organizations and institutions that I work for. This is what I would definitely like to get out first and foremost. But yeah, I guess some of my views are a little contrary to mainstream consensus in regards to the field of substance use and mental health treatment.
Yeah.
There's well, for one, I don't know if you remember, like I was banned for life from Facebook.
No, for life.
For life,
For life?
I'm banned for life.
Wait,
Banned
how
for
does that happen? How could you get banned for life?
Well, you accrue enough warnings, and then one day they just say, "That's it. It's over. You're banned for life." You're
So we have a Facebook lifetime
yeah.
banned person right here.
I've been banned. This is my third TikTok account. TikTok's even worse. But the straw that broke the camel's back was harm reduction. Harm reduction.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, it was harm
Oh, yeah. You know what?
I did a meme. About Darth Vader handing out crack pipes.
Yeah.
You know that part where he says, "Luke, I'm your father." And
Yeah.
Come hand out crack pipes with me, and together we'll reduce harm throughout the galaxy. That was it. That was the meme that broke the camel's back. And
Wow. Yeah.
that was it.
I remember doing something on social media, and I think it was TikTok. Yeah, TikTok blocked it instantly.
Yeah.
Said that they wouldn't let me say. I forgot what it was. I'm blanking on what it was, but it wasn't anything. It really. I think I used a word or something.
Yeah, and they don't warn you or anything like that.
They don't
They wait for
warn
you to
you.
put it on, and
Yeah.
Yeah. So
and then they punish you for it.
TikTok, we're gonna ban you, TikTok. Angel, do you know anything about harm reduction, or do you know what it is? Because maybe Keith can help you with this.
Yeah, I've never really heard of it. What's it about?
Harm reduction is, now there's two different. Harm reduction is the main consensus. Like substance use disorder treatment through the state was formerly abstinence, and now it is harm reduction based, meaning that the idea that total abstinence might be too difficult for an individual, therefore it might be stigmatizing for that to be the standard. So they're going to try to show people how to use safer or reduce usage, while not necessarily promoting abstinence, because it might be like a bridge too far, like changing the word sober house to recovery house, because, if you're unable to maintain total abstinence and you get kicked out of the house, now you got kicked out of the house because, of too lofty of an ideal of abstinence, and you shouldn't be penalized and things like that.
Yeah, no, I could see how that's kind of controversial, especially in the recovery community and with I think all the 12-step programs, because they're all about abstaining. It depends on which 12-step program you're in, because sometimes process is different than substance. So like if you're dealing with a substance abuse versus a process abuse, like overeating, you just can't stop eating. You know what I mean? Like you have to have food.
Yeah.
So like when you're an overeater, it's not complete abstinence. Where if you were an alcoholic, they could probably suggest complete abstinence,
Well,
right?
yeah, but that's the thing that sometimes people equate like those 12-step programs with abstinence, but they do harm reduction there as well.
Yeah.
They do harm reduction there as well, where they suggest maybe keeping alcohol in the house in case you have to detox somebody and get them to a meeting, and putting a couple of drinks into an individual so they don't go into seizures.
Yeah,
so
you
can
could
get
die.
them to a meeting.
Yeah, because you can die.
Yeah,
Or
it's a
like,
form of-
get
that's a form of
someone
harm reduction.
Yeah, getting somebody in. Yeah, getting somebody to. I know people that took people to rehabs, and the rehabs denied them because they were like clean for like a day or two, and they're
Yeah.
like, you don't have a problem. So I didn't know, and I was being brought into a rehab in Brooklyn, right? And that was the last rehab I was in. And when I was going, I drank the night before like a beast anyway. But when I was going, I felt like I snuck a beer with me anyway, and I was drinking it on the way there. So that helped me. Like when they said, "When was your last drink?" I was like, "I just drank."
Yeah.
And they were like, "Okay." They just didn't even say anything. They said, "Get in there."
Well, it's one of the biggest questions out there, and I still get it to this day from clients and people that I'm not professionally helping, but people I'm helping voluntarily is, am I sober if I'm on Suboxone?
Yes, exactly. We talked about that before. Yeah, I have a couple of friends that are on that right now. I know a couple of people, and I feel like that's stigmatized. There's a stigma with this type of things, especially I think within a community that we're trying to help. Like the community is like, come to this community so we can help you, and then when you come and they're like, all right, well, this is helping me, and then they're like, well, not that way. Like, we want to help you, but we want to help you this way and not that way.
Yeah.
And help you A, B, but you're taking route C. And well, what are your thoughts on these type of things?
Well, there's two different schools for me, and I got to live in both worlds. I have to help the individual.
Yeah.
And the idea of the individual's recovery is one thing. Then we look at recovery on a the whole country scale.
Okay.
And then you see like these different modalities and these different ideas, and stopping the stigma. Of course, I don't want anybody to be stigmatized, and I don't want anyone to avoid treatment because they don't want anybody to know that they're a drug addict and they're a dirty drug addict, a horrible person who can't stop doing drugs, like it's a choice. And at the same time,
yeah, right, it's a choice. Just stop doing drugs. Oh, what? I never thought of that.
At the same time, if you eliminated all stigma and you eliminated all shame, I think it would produce more addicts.
It would produce more addicts.
Yes.
Because there would be no line or
one of the things that they started,
right? Like this is the line.
Well, they take the sign on the wall, just say no to drugs. Drugs are bad.
Right,
this
right,
is your brain on drugs.
Yeah.
Drugs are horrible. Drugs are the end of the world. Drugs are the worst thing you can do. Just say no signs. And they said, we have to take those down. And I said, why? And they said, because some individuals are claiming that, one, it didn't work, and two, telling somebody just say no made them go out and use, right? And I said, but who are you asking? And they said people in early recovery, people that are just doing an intake at an outpatient clinic. And I said, well, one, you're giving them a bone. You're throwing them a layup.
Yeah.
Is there something you need to change about yourself and your usage, or did the sign on the wall make you use? And they're like, yeah, the sign on the wall made me use.
Right.
Yeah.
The excuse, their excuse or their thoughts.
But then I got into thinking about it more and more and more, because this, then you look into the statistics and everything, and 70% of the country doesn't have a substance use disorder problem. So I asked them, I said, how many of those people did you ask if the sign worked? And I bet you all 70% it said, yeah, I saw the sign, it said drugs are bad, and I didn't become an addict.
Right. No, that makes sense. I think, okay, so this is my thoughts on, like, I think most of life, it's kind of like trying to go with the best consensus. Like as far as like with like history stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like when I would talk about like Jesus, right? Whether or not someone believes that he did miraculous things or that he died, he rose from the dead, or that he was God's son, over 90%, right? The majority, the 90% of historians, and which a lot of them are secular. They're not like religious. So, or at least 50% of them, they agree that he existed, that he was a person. You know what I mean? So historically speaking, Jesus was a person, but I have to trust the majority of like scientists. So like we do kind of trust numbers, right? Sometimes
Yeah.
you're saying like most, like you said, the sign works 70%. And I think even in like some 12-step literature, they give some history stuff. And they talk about how like, 50% of people got sober. And then later on, the people that kept coming back, 25% of them got better. And then the rest of them, they got better in a way. Like the rest of the people got better. They didn't get worse. It didn't like hurt them or whatever to be, to go that route. So I think, yeah, from what it sounds like to me, you see both sides.
You got
see
to
the
live in both worlds.
Yeah, both worlds. Yeah, it sounds like you understand it. Like me, I'm thinking like my friends who are on Suboxone, they're alive today. So, and they're not on heroin.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that's a win.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I know for a fact I know there's people saying like, well, then they're not clean or that they're not sober. It's like, all right, cool. Like, then I have to let them be them and say that. But that's where the stigma comes from.
Yeah, but
People's opinions, and it's like
they are people's opinions, and the individuals that are saying that probably. So when you talk about clean and sober, there's two totally different things. You know what I'm saying? So the guy that's saying like the guy on Suboxone ain't clean and sober, if that guy's the guy who's suggesting that is cheating on his girlfriend or cheating on his wife, he ain't sober neither.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He ain't clean and sober either.
Yes.
He's abstinent.
Yeah.
And he's abstinent from one thing, but especially like hosting that show, Alternative Pathways to, I always like to throw this in, universal recovery, because you got to be in recovery from sex addiction. You can be in recovery from gambling. You can be in recovery from eating disorders. All these different things, and nobody adheres to a perfect lifestyle, but you can't, if you might be cheating on your taxes, or you might be gambling too much, and like gambling not necessarily against the casino, but like poker. Like I don't play poker anymore because there's only one way to win at poker, and that's to take money from another person. And that guy might be a mark, that guy might be a sucker, that guy might be looking at a divorce if he loses any more money, and my only goal is to take that money from him.
Yeah.
So when you start talking about what's clean and sober, you got to really, really, really be living a certain way to be accusing anybody else
Yes.
of not being clean and sober.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. Because I know, like, I have so many instances of where I could say that, like, where am I really, I'm going to use the word sober to blanket everything. Sober, right? Meaning from everything. I had this guy, I know this guy that's a circuit speaker, and he goes around, he speaks at these 12-step meetings all around the country, and I heard his tapes. I met him once, actually, and, he had these tapes, and, like, in his tape, he said that he joined another 12-step program to help, with his eating, and he was saying that he says, how do I look standing up here talking about recovery and I'm 100 pounds overweight?
Mm-hmm.
And like that line hit me so hard. It hit me so hard. Like, somebody that like, and look, and this is not to like shame anybody or saying that like if they have genetic problems or something, it's not about weight. What his point was when he said 100 pounds overweight, to put it in that a context, he was saying like, meaning that if he just ate whatever he wanted and lived and like just kind of like used it as like, you know, an excuse, or like was overeating because he was escaping or was an addiction, and like how's he look like talking about freedom from addiction when he's just switching it or using some other addiction, you know what I'm saying?
Well,
Which always stuck to me, because he's like, I can't be up here speaking about spirituality and like I'm 100, meaning like he couldn't handle it, and he did. He said he went to another 12-step program, handled it, and he stood up there, very healthy looking person that could speak from experience. But
well, you know, that's one of the biggest problems I feel is out there right now is, you know, I don't want to stigmatize anybody. I want them to be, you know, to feel free to come into treatment without stigma, the stain of stigma. But at the same time, I don't want shame eliminated 100%, because that's not a good thing. There has to be what I refer to as a healthy amount of shame, you know? And that sign on the wall, I'm glad that I grew up where they still had signs on the wall that said drugs are bad and just say no, because as a heroin addict, you know, people said, oh, it didn't work for you. You still ended up shooting dope. And I did, but the progression took 15 years from swallowing my first Vicodin to sniffing the Roxys, then sniffing the dope, then shooting the dope. Took the last 5 years was shooting, so it took 10 years to get to the needle, and I fought it tooth and nail, you know, because of the signs on the wall that said just say no, drugs are bad. You know, the stigmatization of shooting heroin as a bad thing, you know, and I stayed away from the needle for 10 years, and that's when I would start to argue with, you know, my colleagues.
yeah,
I said it did work, and it kept the needle out of my arm that long. It kept me alive, you know, instead of just going right to the needle. And, you know, if I had gotten to the needle a year earlier or 2 years sooner, I'd probably be dead. I could be dead. You know, you never know.
sounds like the people that you probably argued with, and just maybe you know better than me because you argued with them.
Yeah, I argue with everybody.
That I feel like they had one way of thinking that like worked for them, and they're willing to die on the hills that like this is the only way. And sometimes it's hard for us to like see that like maybe there's other ways to get the same result.
Exactly.
So like my a person that I know is I just found out that they're in their recovery. They don't go to 12-step programs. They're on Suboxone. They drink. They say I drink a little here and there. I'm not really a drinker, and maybe maybe they'll do edible or something. But like the main goal was like heroin was killing them, and now it's not. You know what I mean? So like to me, I count them as in recovery. To me, you know, I'm like they're recovering. You know, they're in recovery because they're handling the best way of their ability of getting better. I think I was in a meeting in Los Angeles, and there was this tall 5'10" beautiful girl. Like Los Angeles is just full of actors and models, and it was a young people's meeting. So this beautiful speaker, she was the speaker, tall. She's a transplant from Canada. I remember so she went there and she was just talking, and she said, she's like, you know, one of the first things my sponsor told me, you know, when I came in, like I had a problem and I was bringing it to him, and then she said he said to me, he's like, baby girl, he's like first, don't die, and everything else will take care of itself. And like when she said that years ago, all I could think about was like his first way of helping her was to like, first don't die, just don't die, and everything else we'll like get to it, like, you know, like what's the deal, like. So I think to me, for some reason, that's just been my main motive as far as like first not die. Yeah. No, I get it. You know, I hear the squawking from everyone and talking, and I had to just let it flow, because I know that for me, it's like first don't die, and as we recover, like, you know, we'll figure out what's the best way to, you know, have recovery. You know.
Well, they get these ideas. You know, these ideas become consensus. Like I heard that there's no therapeutic value for going to jail. Nobody should go to jail. And I said, here I am arguing again with colleagues. I said, jail saved my life. You know,
Right.
jail is a cornerstone of my recovery. Accountability. I found a bag of dope finally, after I got recovery, and I was going to one of my first jobs, slicing meat at a deli, and there it was, a little square packet of dope on the ground. I was like, oh my God, I finally, I would spend so much time walking around that town with no phone, no wallet, no, looking at every square piece of paper on the ground, and there it was, and I held it up, I looked at it, and it was the real deal, and I said, I can't figure out how to do this without going back to jail. I can't.
Yeah.
Or end up peeing in a cup, or end up in a rehab, or end up suicidal, and they try to medicate and to make sure that nobody ever feels any of these things anymore, and that's one of the things that I'm concerned about.
Yeah. No, and I feel like I believe in God, so like I feel like God is everywhere. So like God has given, like there's a line that says what the devil intended for evil, God will use for good. So it's like when I'm in addiction and I'm like ending up in hospitals. I had my face ripped off by like a dog when I was drunk for like 4 days, and then being locked up and like being like in all these places, and then in the rehabs and like being homeless and all that stuff, like in the homeless shelters, like there was like people helping me. There was glimpses of like where God's opportunity for those people to help me were coming through. So like, people go into the jails now and they talk about it. They bring either God or recovery or both, I think that like all these places, I think there's like just God in all of it. And I know from my own experience that I've seen. That's why it's kind of like, I get it. People make these hard rules, like we talked about before, about like, and Angel knows, right? Like these hard rules that's like, and I told Angel before when I was helping you and talking with you about like, you asked about relationships. And I was like, look, man, I'm here to like show you my experience. Everything else will work itself out. Yeah. I said, that's what I told Angel. I said, focus on this. If you have time for outside stuff, then you have time for this. Let's focus on this. And then, I don't put any rules on anybody, but I will make I'll tell you what happened to me, and I shared some of my own experiences. But other than that, like, I believe that there's there can be recovery, and even in the reduction of it, instead of just I know there's some people. I mean, I can't speak because I don't know. I didn't live their story. Yeah. Like, I'm not their story. I'm my story. You're your story, and Angel's their story. Like, I just know that I can't predict if they would have lived or died. But I know people that like just couldn't get it, and maybe reduction would have been a little more helpful, probably. But that's just my opinion at this point because I can't predict it. But I just seen people that try to do the straight like. Nothing. And then it was, they just weren't able to make it. So again, I don't know. Well, I don't know.
I can tell you firsthand.
That's my best answer. I don't know.
From behind the scenes, harm reduction's great. Stopping the stigma is great, but it can be weaponized. Mm-hmm. It can be weaponized. Yeah. The first time I was asked by a not-for-profit to hand out crack pipes at train stations and bus stops. I was blown away because one, I had just gotten another Facebook strike for suggesting that state-funded crack pipes existed. Yeah. They were saying they don't exist. And I was like, I held them in my hands. I was asked to hand them out.
Yeah, and, it's right here. Look, NYS crack pipe.
Yeah. So one of the things about harm reduction is the scientist comes up to you and says this is going to reduce harm. This is going to reduce hepatitis transmission and things of that nature. So we want to hand out crack pipes and do this thing. And I said, all right. So, they said, we're going to give out, we call them kits of love, Keith. And we want you to help us figure out how to roll out this program. And I said, you have state funded crack pipes in this building. They said, yeah. I said, all right. So let's say you take three pipes and 3 needles and a can of soup and an apple. You put it in a bag with a little, card that says, when you're ready, come see us. But in the meantime, use safely. You hand those out, right? So let's just say they are drug addicts, the individuals that you're handing these out to. Let's just call it a $30 savings. You save $30 through three pipes and 3 needles. $30 a week. I'm going to see this guy every week. Come down to the bus stop. That's what you want me to do. Then they know that I'm going to be here every Friday at 3:00. They come and they get their $30 discount, which comes to $30 a week, 52 weeks a year. That's $1,570 a year. This is a drug addict, and this is a drug addict in the 2020s. And what does a drug addict do with? I'm not even supposed to say drug addict. What does an individual with substance use disorder, severe substance use disorder, do with an extra $1,570 in their pocket? They purchase more drugs.
Yeah.
Which are laced with
Fentanyl.
There it is. Ding,
Yeah.
ding, 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 ding. So you've increased this person's potential for fentanyl consumption by $1,570 a year. And at that point, if you're increasing the chance of coming across a hot spot in a piece of crack, and the cleanliness of your pipe no longer plays into this idea, have you reduced harm or have you increased it? Is the question.
That is a good that is a good thought to bring up. You said you had something to say?
Yeah, I was gonna ask, is like clean needles like a example of harm reduction or not?
Yes, absolutely.
Clean needles?
Clean
The same
needles,
thing?
Yeah. And I
way.
advocate for the use of clean needles.
Yeah.
But I'd recommend you go to a clinic and get them. At least that's like an effort and a journey rather than somebody coming and delivering them to you.
Oh yeah, you know what? I had my friend. Well, I don't know if it had to do anything with state or with anything like that. But as far as like something to the effect of like, if someone's gonna use, they could send someone to like sit there with you to make sure you don't overdose.
Yeah.
Is that a thing, or am I making it up?
No, I don't
I know my
but
friends did. I know my friends did it.
I don't know if they have anybody that'll actually come to your apartment or whatever to watch you shoot, but they have hotlines you can call and you can.
Okay,
be
is that
on
what
the
it is?
phone.
The
And,
hotline.
like, you're telling like I'm shooting up right now, and then they're like, "Hello, are you still there? Are you still there?" And if you stop talking, then they call 911.
Right.
Yeah, they do have those hotlines.
I wonder. So you know anything about that? Like, if you don't know anything past that, right? Like, if 911 comes to your house, do you get in trouble? I guess for having
No,
dogs?
it's called the Samaritan. You can the Good Samaritan law. If you're the one who gave them the drugs and you shoot up and you're fine, and your buddy overdoses, and I've seen this firsthand. When I was still using, the person who calls will not get in trouble, and unless you have like a kilo of something on the table and a loaded gun, they're not going to look for it. They're not going to ask you for the drugs. You're off the hook.
Man,
Call 911.
Yeah, this whole thing is so deep because it brings up a lot of, I guess people, our listeners out there will probably just have thoughts in their heads, probably just like my thoughts, probably like they would feel like, oh, well then you're advocating drug use, right? In a way, like I guess that's what probably some people would say, and then it's kind of like you have to. I'm an addict. I don't know if that's the. I think my buddy goes to school. Our friend goes to school for psychology. He's gonna be in there for like 8-10 years of schooling, but he's plugging along, and when we talk about the DSM-5 or whatever, the book that talks about the terms, the correct terms of like things like that.
Opiate use disorder.
Yeah, they're not like, I would say just addicts. I would say I'm an addict, Yeah. I'm an alcoholic, but it would be like alcohol abuse disorder or something like that.
Yeah.
The book,
Psychotic episodes, alcohol induced.
Yeah, it gets a little different, but
Yeah.
I can speak from an addict's point of view and a recovered one at that, and I can say that I would only want to help, and if it's gonna, sometimes people's other help may be better than mine, maybe they're right because you know what it is, because I hear it in my head. I hear like, and it always sounds like this. I always feel like someone's like, oh yeah, well, they just don't want to stop. That's why if you just like, they're gonna like want to like weasel their way into like thinking that they can do it. And it's like, well, it's more than that. I mean, they're sick to be, I think I'm sick to begin with.
Yeah.
I'm sick to begin with. The fact that I'm trying to be sneaky about using drugs, that's not a common brain doesn't do that. If I had to be sneaky about using drugs, like, bro, then you've missed the point, I think. I think that those people have missed the point of that. That does not sound sick to begin with. And how do we help somebody that's already apparently sick,
Well,
than to argue?
It's tough, and if anybody's looking to get into this field, you really have to, and you're in recovery, you got to really
Open up that mind, probably.
you got to open up your mind and
Open up that heart.
open up your heart and take care of yourself
Take care of yourself.
before this field drives you crazy.
How do you feel about it now? Like being in this field and standing your ground? That sounds like really nice that you can like, say what you need to say because your voice is very important.
Yeah,
Your voice is super important because I feel like you're bringing clarity. Like if I only hung out with people that agreed with me, then my world would be so small and so like tiny and like no, like and me and Jamie have been on this podcast and we bumped heads and I tell her, I was like, I kind of don't see it that way, or like I flat out say, yeah, I hear what you're saying, I don't agree with it, and then I'd say my part. It's called in the Bible iron sharpening iron. Like, we're as friends we kind of do that. I think that's what you're doing in your community, in your field. I think that like you being especially, I think God has given you that. I call it wisdom, but that's just me, and I'm not trying to big you up. I'm just saying that's why I see it as like a good thing.
Well, the path to recovery, you just you put your recovery first, and you pray for guidance, and you go where it leads you. And I never wanted to be a mental health and substance use disorder professional. The last person on planet Earth who should be hosting an open mic night or calling himself a therapist or a counselor is me.
Or on a podcast.
Yeah,
that's
or on
like
a podcast, on a quiet,
literally
podcast.
worldwide.
It's crazy.
People listening. Like,
But,
I saw my stuff I was looking at some of my demographics and people in Russia and people in like other countries are like listening in. So like, this is you talking about this on such a public forum that I'm like, I'm just happy because I think I want to have you back on and we could talk more about this and other stuff if you want.
Well, I'll say this, and when everyone around you is dying, they're killing themselves, they're dying from overdoses, soma comas, and fentanyl and Xanax is a big killer out there. All my friends, and people around me were dying left and right, and I wanted to die. Mm-hmm. I was thinking about suicide when I was 10, and I'm saying to myself, why am I still here? Why did he get to go and, have this totally over and find peace or whatever it is that's waiting afterwards? And I'm still stuck here. And the answer is that my higher power had work for me to do. And he set up scholarships, and the path was clear. And next thing I knew, I was a certified recovery peer advocate. Next thing I knew after that, I was a CASAC T, and organizations were contacting me to work for them. And all I can say is this, how do I feel doing it? My insomnia is almost gone completely. My depression, my anxiety, my suicidal thoughts, they're not gone, but the volume on that has been turned down very, very low. And I feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I feel like that this is why I was kept alive. It's a great feeling.
Your purpose and your
yeah. It's a great feeling.
That's so awesome. And you know what? Like you talked about how I inspired you. I know that right now there's people listening to you right now and they're like inspired because I'm inspired by that. And I'm just excited to see as your story unfolds where else, who knows what more you may do. You may be inspired to continue schooling for something else in the next level.
Yeah.
You may be inspired to have your own podcast and have me and Angel come on. I don't know. Who knows? Because I think you have a lot of good stuff to say. And I think that that's why I started this. So I can kind of talk, but also I was like, I think I have stuff to say.
Yeah.
I think we both have stuff to say. So who knows? All the avenues, as long as we're alive and recovering one day at a time, getting better and better, and hearing God. I think those are the things that we're gonna inspire other people and find a real purpose in life. So thanks for coming on. You know, we're going
Thanks
to
for
cut this
having me.
off right now, and you'll be back again?
Oh, I'll be back.
All right, we have him on tape that he'll be back.
I'll be back.
So now we have
I'll be
him on
back.
tape that he's going to be back. And I'm going to use this in court and be like, Your Honor, it's been a year since he's been on. No, we got to get you in.
I'll be back.
We're going to put that in. All right, cool. So usually we end out with like us saying like a word of affirmation. And mine used to be, for a long time, mine used to be like, don't do drugs.
Yeah.
Like that would be my
Yeah.
ending. But you've inspired me to probably say something different. I say different things all the time, but let's start with Angel. What do you want to say?
I will say, don't look back in anger.
Oasis.
Yeah.
That's a good song. Do you have any words of affirmation? Anything that you want to say to those beautiful
Yeah,
people
yeah.
listening?
I'll steal a little some of your thunder. What you just said before. Just stay alive. Just stay alive.
I like that. That's it.
Like that.
I like, I don't know if it's the name of a movie, but I was going to say life is beautiful.
Life's the garden, dig it.
Oh! All right, guys. Well, peace out. Till the next time.
Peace.
So what's your podcast about?
Okay, this is making me feel really uncomfortable. Not like it. Is my mic on? Okay. Well then, let's go.
Hey, everyone, look here. Quiet coyote. Quiet coyote.